How did Iran manage to hit an American F-35 stealth fighter? Well, in modern warfare, there are primarily two kinds of anti-aircraft missiles: radar-guided and heat-seeking. The F-35 was designed to be practically invisible to long-range radar, but it wasn't built to completely hide from heat-seeking missiles. So how exactly did Iran missile manage to bypass the stealth technology of the US F-35? Well, the secret lies in a major vulnerability that is its heat signature. Its geometry and radar-absorbent materials make its radar cross-section incredibly small, essentially rendering it invisible to traditional early warning and targeting radars. To give you some context, this is how a plane's radar signature compares to a bird's. But the F-35 is powered by a single Pratt & Whitney F-135 engine, one of the most powerful fighter engines in the world. The F-35 is heavily optimized to defeat radio frequency radar like the billion-dollar S-400 and S-300 missiles. However, stealth does not mean completely invisible. This engine produces a massive heat plume. Instead of using radar, modern air defense networks utilize infrared search and track systems. The answer is this short-range heat-seeking missile like this one. These passive sensors scan the skies for any heat anomalies. Because infrared search and track systems emit no energy themselves, the F-35's radar warning receivers would not alert the pilot that they were being painted by a target lock in the same way a radar lock would. But how did the missile lock, and how did the F-35 use evasive maneuvers? Once an infrared-guided missile is launched, the dynamic of the engagement changes to a race of physics and countermeasures. When the missile's IR seeker head locks onto the massive thermal output of the F-35's engine exhaust. With the detection, the F-35 is equipped with a distributed aperture system, 6 infrared cameras positioned around the aircraft that provide a 360-degree spherical view. The distributed aperture system detects the intense heat signature of the incoming missile's rocket motor and instantly alerts the pilot. To break the lock, the pilot executes high-G evasive maneuvers while simultaneously deploying flares. If the missile tracks the flares but is already within a lethal radius, its proximity fuse will trigger the warhead. The resulting shrapnel and shockwave can cause significant damage to the aircraft's control surfaces, stealth coating, or internal systems without scoring a catastrophic direct hit, which perfectly aligns with reports of the F-35 sustaining damage but safely executing an emergency landing. But what are flares? These pyrotechnic countermeasures are made of magnesium or other combustible metals that burn at temperatures exceeding the aircraft's engine heat. The goal of the flares is to overwhelm or confuse the missile's IR seeker, forcing it to chase the decoy heat sources instead of the jet. But what is Iran's secret weapon? We believe it's the 358 anti-aircraft missile, or the SA-67. The 358 is a unique hybrid between a loitering munition or kamikaze drone and a surface-to-air missile. But how does it work? It flies at slower subsonic speeds and can loiter in a designated airspace in a figure-8 pattern until its optical and infrared sensors detect a target. If a 385 missile or a more advanced high-speed indigenous IR-guided surface-to-air missile was guided by a ground-based IRST network, it could engage the F-35 entirely within the infrared spectrum, bypassing the jet's radar-evading capabilities entirely. This incident challenges the long-held doctrine that fifth-generation fighters can operate with total impunity in contested airspace, highlighting the evolving threat of infrared detection. But it has its advantages as it cannot hit fighter jets far from its radius of launch system. During Operation Fury, the U.S. has been using F-35s to lead strikes and declared air superiority to hunt for surface-to-air missile and suppress air defenses. Although the U.S. has achieved near-total air superiority, but the war is just entering its most dangerous stage. But here is the problem: Iran is still not out of the fight. If the U.S. owns the sky, why not just send in standard fighters? Because while Iran's main network is shattered, isolated surface-to-air batteries like the S-300 are still hiding in the shadows. For an F-15 E-Strike Eagle, the legendary bomb truck of the Air Force, one lucky radar lock from a rogue missile is a death sentence. And in a high-stakes conflict, losing a crew and a multi-million-dollar jet to a surviving battery.
Giving all the praises, all honor, and all infinite glory to YAHAWAH, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI, BAHASHAM, RAWCHAA, QADASH. Double honors to the beloved apostles, the elders of Great Millstone, who rule well, and who I learn from daily. Peace, blessings, and salutations to the hopeful elect, scattered across the four corners of the earth. You Israelite foreigners like unto a speckled bird. Shalom to you, sincere Akim on the highways and byways, doing lessons and videos week in and week out in truth and sincerity. Shalom to you, sincere Akwath, who's listening in silence as the scriptures command you to do so. This is your brother Isaiah Allah coming to you with another lesson through the spirit and power of Yahawah, BAHASHAM, YAHAWASHI. And Lord willing, I pray this is edifying to the hopeful elect of the nation of Israel, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, Native Americans, West Indians, and Haitians are the biblical Hebrew Israelites of the Bible. The name of your God, your power, his name is Yahawah. Yah meaning he, Hawa meaning is, he exists. BAHASHAM is coming in the name, and who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. His true name in the Hebrew is YAHAWASHI. Yah meaning he, Hawashai meaning savior or deliverer. All praises, all honor, and all infinite glory. And so, wanted to play that clip so you can see that the weak are now strong. The weak are now strong. All right. And as you saw in that video clip, as he said it, they have something like Iran has weaponry that's hidden that they haven't even shown yet. They have weaponry that's hidden that they haven't even shown yet. So this war is about to get real nasty. All right. It is beautiful, man, because America is done. It's over. It's over. They're no longer the hammer of the earth, man. All right. They're weak. Okay. In this war. And Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI is showing them that they're nothing, man. All right. There's rumors coming out that there's been even more casualties than what they're talking about. And as you can see, the weaponry that Iran has is because of their allies, you know, Russia, China, backing them up, man. All right. And this is why they're no longer afraid of the hammer of the earth. We're just going to get a couple of scriptures and then close out on that. This is Jeremiah 50 and 23. How, Salakia, how is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How has Babylon become a desolation among the nations? All right. And because Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, all right, his beauty, like that golden cup, Babylon the Great, all right, has ruled the earth in utter wickedness, all right, and debauchery, all right, have oppressed the nations, okay, and he didn't hinder, he didn't let up at all, and he's continuously doing that, okay, and this is why now in this war, those nations that you plundered, that you raped, you robbed, and you pillaged are now hitting you with that same rhetoric, that same power that you put on them. All right. And now everything is flipping back on you and you're losing your power. Verse 24, I have laid a snare for thee, and thou art also taken, O Babylon, which is America, and thou was not aware. Yeah, because America has bitten more often than they can chew. Israel has bitten more often than they can chew. All right. They thought this is going to be quick and fast like they did with Venezuela, but nope. And now they're seeing that Iran is not to be trifled with. Thou art found and also caught, because thou hast striven against Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI. All right. And this is what's going to be the end of America right here in verse 25. Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI have opened his armory and have brought forth the weapons of his indignation, which is the missiles that are going to set this bitch on fire completely to never be inhabited ever again. All right. All these weapons of war, of mass destruction are the weapons of Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI. For this is the work of the Lord God, Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI of hosts in the land of the Chaldeans. This is what these devils are gonna get melted with, are these ICBM nuclear missiles, man. All right. But of course, before we get to that point, the implementation of the MOTB has to happen, and this war is gonna escalate. Okay. Verse 26, come against her from the utmost border, open her storehouses, cast her up as heaps, and destroy her utterly. Let nothing be of her be left. And that's what's going to be the end of this place. It's going to be inhabited by desert creatures. No people will ever dwell on this land again. All right. And this is the war that we're in, man. Isaiah chapter 9 and verse 5. For every battle of the warrior is with confused noise and garments rolled in blood. How the ancient wars were fought. All right. Loud noise, shield and buckler, sword. But this shall be with burning and fuel of fire. That's why you're seeing the missiles. All right. Automatic weapons. Okay. Drone strikes. That's the Third World War. And this is why this is going to be the most catastrophic war of all the wars that we've had on this planet. A time like never before. All right. And that's what's going to end up happening. Missile exchanges. All right. Planes dropping air by airstrikes, so on and so forth. And now the ones that you that you persecuted and destroyed are no longer weak, because Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI is putting the spirit in them to be strong. This is Joel chapter 3 and verse 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty men. Let all the men of war draw near. Let them come up. This is what these nations are doing, all right? And then the Carmanians, the Persians, which is Iran today, all right, are now mustering up the battle. They're getting ready to burn this bitch, all right? But first, they got to wait till Russia takes the charge, as in Ezekiel 38, because Russia is going to be a guard to all of them. And so that's where we're waiting for something catastrophic to happen. Verse 10, beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. And that's what's happening right now. They're no longer weak anymore. All right? Babylon, America, Esau, Edom, the so-called white man, has become weak. All right? His power, his influence is no longer working anymore. And now everybody sees what who the devil is of the entire planet Earth. All right? And so now all these nations, beginning with Iran, are now mustering up to the battle. And it's going to get worse and worse as time goes on. And so I'll end it off right there. I pray you were edified. All praises, all honor, and all infinite glory to Yahawah BAHASHAM YAHAWASHI BAHASHAM QADASH. Double honors to the beloved apostles, the elders of Great Millstone, and shalom to the hopeful elect.